I don't know what to answer, not to answer, because I don't know. You could arrest me right now.
I don't know the law.
Okay.
Right.
No, fine. I'm interviewing you about your actions. I could arrest you if there's a crime, an arrestable offense. We play by the rules, and there's strict rules, policies, criminal procedure that we follow to the T. Okay? Just because you don't believe it doesn't mean that that's not the fact.
Good afternoon, Sergeant Bukhenik.
Good afternoon, sir.
I want to talk to you for a second about roles in this case, in this investigation. Would you agree with me that Michael Proctor was the lead investigator as well as the case agent in charge of this case?
He was assigned as the case officer for the case.
In that position, given the fact that it was his assignment, would you agree with me that he had a leadership role?
I wouldn't call it a leadership role. It's more of a facilitator, liaison between the DA's personnel within the office and the state police. He also helps facilitate any missions, outstanding tasks that need to be completed.
He obviously had a supervisor, correct?
He did, yes, that would be myself.
That would be you.
Yes.
Every case has some lead trooper in your unit, correct? Every case is assigned to someone to sort of be in charge and lead the charge of the investigation. Is that right?
Every case has a case officer that manages the investigation.
Right. And managing the investigation doesn't mean just, sort of typing up schedules. It means actually managing the investigation, like deciding what search warrants are going to be written in certain circumstances. That's one example, correct?
They're responsible for writing and authoring those search warrants. Sometimes the recommendation, suggestion, or leadership comes from the supervisors or the DA staff, where their experience might dictate otherwise.
And sometimes it comes from the lead case agent himself or herself, correct?
At times, yes.
Every team, including back in the time you were in the military, back in the time you were in the Marine Corps, every team has multiple individuals involved in that team, correct? That's the whole point of a team, multiple people, correct?
I would agree with you that a team consists of more than one person. Yes.
And there has to be some sort of echelon of leadership on that team, correct? Everybody's not just an equal, co-equal, correct?
We might have different duties, responsibilities, but some teams have equal rank. Yeah.
But there's going to be a team leader, right? That's a military phrase, team leader.
Yes, there is a team leader in the Marine Corps, in the rifle platoon, but not every team has a leader.
Did the team in this case, in this investigation, have a leader? Someone who was assigned as the lead case agent?
The case officer for the investigation was Michael Proctor.
But you don't want to say lead case agent or case officer, correct?
I refer to that billet as case officer. We follow the evidence in every investigation, and that evidence determines who the suspect, person of interest, or ultimately the defendant is.
And you want to make sure that you gather, or that your subordinates gather that evidence in an appropriate and objective way. It's obviously the foundation of a good investigation, correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Maybe. You talked about following the evidence. You want to make sure that that evidence is gathered in a way that is adequate, in a way that is objective, in a way that is unbiased, so that you can gather the evidence that will lead you to the right folks, right? To the right suspects.
We always want to gather as much evidence as possible. We conduct that gathering in the most appropriate ways possible. Sometimes there are tough decisions that have to be made where we have to either decide whether we're collecting evidence A or evidence B, and those decisions have to be made on the spot. At times it's a time-sensitive matter. At times it's a decision made by a group putting their heads together and deciding on that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
Not really.
That's the most
Let's try it again.
accurate explanation.
Okay. You done?
I am.
Okay. Let's try that again. You want to make sure that the evidence, as a supervisor, supervising your subordinates, you want to make sure that the evidence is gathered in an appropriate way, in an objective way, correct? Yes or no?
Yes. If there was a question of integrity, those individuals would not be part of an investigation. This is a very serious line of work. A lot depends on it. We speak for those that can no longer speak for themselves. So we do our best to conduct every investigation with integrity, honor, and get to the truth.
And you have supervisors to whom you report, correct?
Yes, it's a paramilitary structure, and it is in order for the colonel to keep command and control over the entire agency of 2,000 plus people, it is absolutely necessary for there be a reporting up and down within the ranks of the Massachusetts State Police.
What's your chain of command? Who did you report to back in 2022?
I directly reported to Detective Lieutenant Tully.
Former trooper Michael Proctor was the person who was the assigned case agent, the lead case agent in this particular investigation, correct?
Michael Proctor was the case officer for this investigation.
He was assigned, ultimately, to use another phrase, as the lead investigator, wasn't he?
I'm not going to agree with you.
Is there a reason that you want to try to distance yourself from naming Michael Proctor as the lead investigator in the case? Is there some reason?
I am not trying to distance myself. All I'm saying is the term that I use is the case officer. We're simply case managers. There's no leading investigation in any direction.
Well, let me ask you this. Is a case officer another word for that? Synonym would be an investigator, right? He's a detective, an investigator, correct?
He is a detective, yes.
And he was the one who was assigned by the Massachusetts State Police because of his on-call status that night, or that morning, January 29, 2022, he was assigned to the case, correct?
Michael,
Yes or no? Assigned to the case. That's all I'm asking.
well, you said a lot before that,
No,
so
I didn't. I said he was assigned to the case. What I said before that was January 29, 2022, he was assigned by the Massachusetts State Police as the case officer for this case. Correct?
no.
Who was?
He was assigned to be on call a month prior. Just because he was on call, he was assigned the case as a result. He was not assigned the case right there and then, because his assignment began much earlier in the day.
Sergeant, we can do this all day, I suppose. He was on call.
He
on
was.
January 29th, correct?
He was.
Because he was on call, any case that happened to come in would be assigned to whom?
To the on-call trooper that's on the schedule.
Which was whom?
It was Michael Proctor.
Let me just ask you this. Do you believe that Michael Proctor, his involvement in this case, taints the investigation? Tainted the investigation?
No.
Not at all.
The investigation was done with honor, integrity, and all the evidence pointed in one direction only.
Honor and integrity by Michael Proctor?
Was that a question? I'm sorry.
Sure is. Everything I say is a question. Honor and integrity by Michael Proctor, Sergeant?
Sustain to the comment. Go ahead and ask it again, Mr.
I'll ask it
Jackson.
again. You said honor and integrity. Honor and integrity by Michael Proctor?
I'll allow it.
The investigation was conducted with honor and integrity, and all the evidence pointed in one direction and one direction only.
So, Sergeant Bukhenik, you don't want to answer my question. Correct?
I will answer your question, absolutely.
Do you think this case was handled with honor and integrity by Michael Proctor, Sergeant?
The investigation was handled with integrity by Michael Proctor.
You do know that he touched or had input in nearly every part of this case, obviously, as the case officer, correct?
He managed the case.
So he had some input or had some connection to nearly every part of the case, be it the physical evidence, the search warrants, the interviews, things of that nature.
He was one of the involved with collecting evidence, conducting interviews, and signing affidavits for the search warrants.
He didn't take a minor role in this case. He had a major role in this case. Would you at least agree with that?
He had a role that was more significant than others. A major role would, to me, suggest that he had 51% or more. And with a team of the size that we had working on this case, he did not have a major role.
So you believe, as you sit here today, your testimony is Michael Proctor did not have a major role in this investigation of Commonwealth versus Karen Reed because he didn't have 51% of something? That's your testimony?
That's the way I understand it, yes.
Okay. Is that a search warrant for, generally speaking, Karen Reed's cell phone?
The quality of this photocopy is so poor, I cannot make out exactly what it's for, but there is an overlay of print. I can read what is presented to me, if that's what you want me to do. I do not know if this is an authentic copy of a search warrant.
Let's just look at the affidavit. Can you tell me who the affiant is?
On this document, the affiant is Michael Proctor.
Have you ever seen it before, this search warrant?
I haven't read the whole thing, so I can't testify to that.
So this could be a search warrant that you never even saw?
Based on what you're presenting to me, never having seen or not having read all the details of it, I cannot say whether I've seen it before or not.
So you're not sure that Michael Proctor didn't just do the search warrant without your knowledge?
I don't know if this is truly Michael Proctor's product.
Think that might be a forgery?
I'm sorry?
You think that might be a forgery at the end of that affidavit?
Well, for one, it's not signed, so I don't know who produced this. What I'm saying to you is I don't know who produced this. The quality of the first document, the narrative, I don't know who produced it. If you show me a search warrant application with an affidavit from court, with a stamp, the time stamp and a stamped water seal from court, I will tell you that that's what it appears to be. What you've shown me here, I don't know what this is.
Otherwise, looking at that document, seeing the affidavit, seeing the addendum, seeing Michael Proctor's name on it, no clue whether or not that's a warrant that's attendant to this case that Michael Proctor drafted and submitted. You have no clue.
I can't take you at your word.
I'm not asking you to take me at my word, sir. I'm not testifying. I'm asking you to take the document at his word. Do you recognize it or not? If you don't, you don't.
I do not know.
Okay, let's turn to tab 3. Does that appear to be a search warrant, and does that appear to generally be associated with Ring camera footage at One Meadows?
Yes, that's what it appears to be.
Okay, can you tell me who the affiant is?
Again, this is not a signed search warrant. This is just an affidavit.
Whose name is at the bottom of
The
it?
name at the bottom printed is Michael Proctor.
Can you turn to tab 4? Does that appear to be a search warrant, and does that appear to be for Ring footage also at One Meadows?
It's the same email address associated with the previous location of Meadows, yes.
Who's the affiant?
Michael Proctor.
Can you turn to tab 5? Does that appear to be a police report?
It does.
And do you see a reference in that police report for a search warrant for a telematics system regarding Miss Reed's SUV?
There is a reference to it, yes.
Okay. Whose report is that?
It's Trooper Nicholas Garino's report.
And who is referred to on page 2 as seeking the search warrant?
That search warrant was issued at Stoughton District Court and presented by Trooper Proctor.
Do you see a search warrant? This deals with Google, some geofence data, correct?
Yes, it is.
Who's the affiant?
Again, this search warrant is not signed, but I would say this isn't an actual search warrant, but it seems like at the bottom it says Trooper Michael Proctor.
Does that appear to be a report authored by Nicholas Garino?
It does.
Does that deal with John O'Keefe's cell phone?
It's a report written by Nicholas Garino referencing Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone, yes.
And it indicates that Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone was seized by a particular trooper?
That's what the report indicates, yes.
Who's the trooper?
In this report, it says that Trooper Proctor secured the cell phone.
Do you see a similar report by Trooper Greeno?
Yes.
And do you see reference to Karen Reed's cell phone having been seized?
Yes.
And that was seized by Trooper Proctor also, correct?
Yeah, him and I were there together.
Do you see a report by you
I do.
indicating early spring 2022? There was a CPD video requested by somebody, correct?
Yes.
Who did you indicate requested that CPD video?
The case officer, Trooper Proctor.
And you went and actually, in this instance, you actually went and got the video and delivered it to him, correct? At his request.
Yes, as the case officer, I would, yeah.
Because as the case officer, he's entitled to ask for things, have them delivered, correct?
Anybody's entitled to ask for things, absolutely. We are pursuing justice. We're looking for any and all possible evidence.
I'm sure you are. As the case officer, he's entitled to ask for things to be delivered to him,
Yes, yes.
even by his supervisor.
Yes, absolutely.
Same report, different sentence, talking about a July 2023 CPD or Canton Police Department video that was also requested, correct?
Yes.
Who was that requested by?
Trooper Proctor.
And who delivered it to Trooper Proctor?
I did.
Do you see a document referencing the analysis of Canton Town Library videos?
I do.
And who is it that's listed as having received and reviewed and analyzed the town library videos?
It was Trooper Proctor that analyzed the video and wrote up the timeline.
Thank you. Do you recognize that as being a November 2023 report?
Yes, it's report number 83.
And who authored that report?
This report is authored by Trooper Michael Proctor.
Does that indicate, and I'm not going to ask you to go through the entirety of the report, but if you scan that report, does that indicate certain items of evidence that Trooper Proctor claimed to have recovered on his own? Pieces of plastic, small black plastic, clear plastic, fragment of glass on February 11th, 2022, 3 pieces of clear plastic on February 11th, 2022, clear and red plastic pieces on February 18th, 2022. Is all that referenced in there?
Those items are documented in this report as were collected. Yes.
And those are all documented having been collected by Trooper Proctor himself, correct?
Yes, yes, they were.
Who's the person who submitted the items that I'll ask you about?
It is Trooper Michael Proctor.
And those items include clothing, is that right? We don't have to go through them line by line, but generally, you see clothing items mentioned on there?
The first line is a clothing item, yes.
That includes a lot of what we saw today, Sergeant Bukhenik, the shirt, the orange shirt, the sweatshirt, blue jeans, belt, correct?
Blue jeans, belt. What was the other thing that you listed?
Shirts.
There was a shirt, yes.
That also lists certain items of plastic, certain items of glass, is that right?
Some of those items are listed, yes.
And it even mentions the straw that you talked to Mr. Brennan about, correct?
Yes, the straw is mentioned and numbered.
And all of those items were submitted on March 14th, 2022, correct?
That's what the form indicates, yes.
And all of those items were submitted by Michael Proctor from his custody and control to the crime lab, correct?
That's who signed the form.
So the things that, according to the form at least, and your experience with forms of this nature, it was Michael Proctor who possessed and controlled those items before they were turned over to the to the crime lab, correct?
That would be accurate, yes.
So he would have maintained all of it, is that right? At least at some point?
They would have been in his custody as he's transporting them for processing at the lab, of course.
And then after he maintained control of it, eventually he turned it over and submitted those items, correct?
If the form is accurate, then yes, that's absolutely right.
So we've just gone through a few things. What you and I have just gone through is not nearly everything that Michael Proctor was involved with.
Yes, there was many more things he was involved in. As I mentioned, that was just report 83. There's 100 plus reports in this case that were written. There's a lot of evidence that was collected and processed. So he had a part in the investigation as the case officer managing the tasks. But there's a lot of people involved in this investigation.
So he touched or authored or reviewed or controlled at least every bit of what you and I have talked about this morning. All these items that we just talked about, correct?
He is referenced or is his name appears on most of these documents, yes. If not all.
Talking about the first three interviews that you did, the first three civilian interviews you did that morning. Still on the same thing. You mentioned
Right.
talking to three people at a residence in Canton. Brian Albert, Jim McCabe, Matt McCabe. All three were at 34 Fairview when they indicated John O'Keefe arrived in an SUV. They all told you that, right?
They were inside the home when the defendant and Mr. O'Keefe arrived in the SUV.
These are the very people that would have a motive to lie if they were somehow involved, right?
Can you answer that, Sergeant?
No, Your Honor.
You're a professional investigator, correct?
That's correct.
Homicide investigator, right?
That's correct.
Many years of experience, right? Is that yes?
I don't know what many means to you,
No,
but
of course not. Let me, how many years of experience do you have?
in homicide,
Correct.
10 next week.
Okay. Does that sound like many?
Again, I didn't answer the first time because I don't know what you would think many is.
Right. Suspects ever lied to you?
Yes.
Suspects lie to you all the time, don't they?
All the time is not accurate. They lie about certain things to create an alibi for themselves and state contradicting facts or fabricated stories.
And if someone
all the
has
time would mean that they're constantly lying about everything.
do you understand the colloquialism all the time?
I
Suspects.
do not know the term colloquialism.
Okay, let's try it a different way. If these three individuals were involved in the death of John O'Keefe or knew others who were involved in the death of John O'Keefe, who they were close to, they would have a motive to lie about that, correct?
Objection.
But you took these three individuals just at their word, based on those first three interviews, correct?
No, not correct.
You didn't go in the house. You didn't search the house. We've already talked about that, right?
I did not go into 34 Fairview. No, I did not.
You didn't ask them to come with you down to the station, correct?
That's correct. I did not ask them to come to the station.
As a matter of fact, when you went to interview Jennifer McCabe at her home, Brian Albert happened to be there, correct?
He was there, and I was able to conduct the interview at the house with Brian Albert, yes.
Did you find that odd?
Absolutely not.
Totally normal for you to conduct a formal interview in a homicide case and have an extra person show up at the house just to be there?
Absolutely. Cooperating witnesses always try and be assisting, so cooperating witnesses would assist us.
You just use the word always. You didn't know what all the time means. But they always try to be assistant.
Well, they're cooperating. It's in the nature.
They always try to help you.
Okay, maybe I misspoke. They are cooperating witnesses, so always is such a finite, definitive statement. I apologize for using it.
And if an investigator were keeping an open mind, right, open to all possibilities at the beginning of the investigation, someone that you now are calling a cooperating witness might well be a suspect who's lying. Correct?
Yes,
That's
there's
a possibility.
That is a possibility, yes.